What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building. I'm joined today with John Burg. How you doing today, John?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Excellent, excellent. And I got some great news for you, John. Today we are joined by my very favorite audience member. And why is my favorite audience member here? Well, obviously, it's because this is a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate syndicators, investors, buyers, sellers, and all that sort of stuff. And why would I do such a silly thing, you might ask? Well, if you've ever heard of private off market, also sometimes known as 506B deals, then you'll know that they're not even allowed to share those deals with you unless you have a documented prior substantive relationship. And that's what we're building here. I'm basically finding out from my guests very efficiently and effectively what exactly is it that you do in these deals, and I share the keys that I use to find out those answers with you so you can learn to effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate deals. But before we get too big into businesses, John, do you want to say a thing or two about yourself first?
Yeah, sure. So my name's John Burg. I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Spent almost 11 years in healthcare doing asset management and everything hands-on. So that's just converting that over into the multifamily space. Started out this year actively, looking to scale from there. So looking to meet folks and see what we can do.
I love it. I love it. And the first segment that we do in these chance encounters, it has to do with motivation. But before I get to that, I gotta say, but wait, check your rate. John, I don't know if you can see through your camera and into the user's device, but down there they might see this hideous subscribe button, and maybe they want to do something. It's a stupid joke, but anyway, I do it in every episode. The five distinct motivations. I've spoken to all sorts of different investors and syndicators and whatnot, and everybody has their own unique reason why they're making these deals. But at the same time, I found that they fit pretty neatly into these five different categories. And I like to go through them because, after all, these deals take months to go down, and then you're holding on to them for years. And you need to know when you're picking a partner what's going to keep the person sticking around, what's going to keep them involved. And the first motivation for some people to make their next acquisition is preservation of purchasing power. What on earth is that? Well, some people already have a portfolio of assets, and the way that they make ends meet is from the proceeds of ownership. They don't have a W-2, they don't have a job, they just they basically pay their bills with the proceeds from ownership. And if you're in that kind of situation, why would you make another acquisition? It seems like you're borrowing more effort and work. And the answer is, if inflation is eating away at the purchasing power of your cash flow, it's time to make a new acquisition. And then the other time when somebody in this situation would make another purchase, it would be when they're buying at a steep discount because of distress or an asset crash or something like that. That's not where I'm at personally. Where I'm at is trading time for wealth directly. And that has to do with my tech background. I've had an agency for CRM online funnels since 2011, and that is what actually brought me to real estate in 2014, was helping with those online funnels. And as a high wage, high salary earner, you're paying more in tax than anybody else. And if you're like me and you start working for a guy who was doing 10 transactions a month, so he was buying and selling 10 houses a month basically the entire time for years before he hired me, and yet he was paying less tax than I was. And so it hit me like, well, how can I pivot to where I'm getting rewarded in the form of deployed capital, aka equity, instead of a salary and giving half of it to the government. So that's what I'm up to. But that's a little too subtle or abstract for some people, especially youngsters. They frequently want to gain control of their schedule or maybe hustle real hard right now so that they can take it easy later. That's fast tracking retirement, but maybe they just want to work fewer months per year or fewer weeks per month or fewer hours per week or something like that. And that's why they're making their next acquisitions, because they want to dial it back at some point. But that's not the case with this next group. They're just plain ambitious. They want to buy their entire hometown. They want to make sure their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job. And that's why they're going to hustle into their 90s, which is fantastic for the different teammates in that situation, because they're going to stick around. You know, they're never going to quit. And the last group, they're similarly motivated, but it's not necessarily their own family or something like that. It could be the environment, it could be animals. Might want to send people to space. Who knows what this sector of society is, but if you really want to make a big impact, you have to have there's a financial component to making that big impact. And that's why some people are making these acquisitions, making use of equity multiples. And that way they can make a much bigger difference for some future generation or something like that. Now, John, of those five different motivations, what combination of those would you say describes you best?
Well, honestly, I mean, it's going to be a hodgepodge of all five, but the biggest motivator would have to be helping people who need it. I can remember back to being an early teenager, and I had a dream of being a millionaire by the time I was 30. Didn't reach that goal, but just because we don't hit our target doesn't mean we can't keep going with it. And the reason why is because I wanted to have the means to help other people that needed it. You know, I come from a modest background. We lived in places where people were, you know, undervalued, underrepresented, all those types of things. And I saw good people that just needed a little extra, something to help them out and not be ignored. And I want to fill that gap. And I can remember going to baseball games where I'm originally from Cincinnati, so I'd go to Red games or the Bengals games, and my grandma and grandpa would take us. They had season tickets, but I would ask for dollars, just $1 bills to hand to the homeless people that would sit out there, panhandling because I was concerned about them, and I was, 4 or 5, 6 years old doing that. So definitely, my biggest motivator is helping people.
I love it. I love it. That's a fantastic answer. But of course, those are when things go well. Things don't always go well. There's plenty of risks involved in any kind of business. The bottom can drop out of any sort of online business or whatever that you may have. And one of the things that I found, if you've ever been involved in a 506B syndication, one of those private off-market deals, the securities attorney in the mix is going to demand that everybody fills out this really invasive questionnaire about your financial history, your investment history, and things like that. It's basically more than you may know about your own parents' financial situation. But there was one question in particular that I felt that questionnaire, it didn't really it didn't give what I'd call usable information. And so I've made my own one for the tolerance for risk assessment. It's a fill in the blanks question. The question is, there are many popular investment asset classes, but I think blank is too risky. What's too risky for you, John? It can be inside real estate, it can be outside real estate.
Yeah, really, I think it's anything that you're not educated on. People talk to me about stocks or this, that, or the other thing, and it's just things that I'm not interested in, I haven't researched, and real estate is something that I have researched and I am knowledgeable about. I have, W-2 experience in doing those types of things, and it's something I enjoy. So, anything else for me right now is too risky because I just don't know about any of it. Um, Real estate is I'm all in, and when you compare real estate to other assets, there's a lot more control over risk mitigation. When you're looking at real estate, it's a lot easier to go in knowing whether it's a good deal or not if you're doing your numbers and you understand what's going on. And while you're holding an asset, you can manage it in such a way you have control over it as opposed to other things where you have no control. Um, So yeah, anything else for me right now is too risky, but it's all knowledge based for me.
Right, and stocks would be one that comes to mind as far as having no control compared to having a part of a syndication. Absolutely, and of course, like I definitely agree as well about the investing in things that you know and understand. I think there's another part too that with real estate, it's a fundamental need,
Yeah.
and so it's not derivative like say like Netflix is the punching bag for that. You can't eat Netflix like a subscribe sandwich, which is the segue. That thing just kills me, man. But anyway, it's just a little not so subtle reminder to everybody before I pull out the Dan Does Deals Commercial Core Competency Cube. You can get your own copy for free, print it out, share it with your friends and family, practice for yourself so that you can communicate more effectively on the subject of a commercial real estate deal. And it's absolutely free because, like a complete dummy, I don't ask for any contact information, and that's the cardinal sin of marketing is to give away your freebie without asking for some sort of contact information. But it's important for me that you print this out and you practice these different roles so that you can clearly find out what people do in this industry. And the benefit is that in every episode of Chance Encounters, I go through all 6 sides. It takes 2 minutes, and you'll be able to know how my guest fits into these deals as well by the end. So let's get started. Talking about repositioners. Repositioners are acquisitions people, so they're looking at a bunch of different properties and doing a bunch of different paperwork. What's that paperwork, you may ask? Probably not. But as John mentioned, underwriting is part of being a repositioner, and that means you're doing the math. That's what the fancy word means. You're figuring out, is this property even making the amount of money that the seller slash broker claims it is? Because maybe they're playing some funds and games. It's like years that are 16 months long. That's one that's not good. But so the repositioner has to see through all that, and I call them repositioners, even though some people call these guys investors and these guys investors and those guys investors. But a repositioner specifically is looking for upside, figuring out how can they make this property make more money than it is right now, whatever that number happens to be. Now, one thing that a repositioner has to do that I don't think it's intuitive, every repositioner will be involved in financier relations, talking to a whole whack of different financiers and investors and lenders and whatnot. And the reason why they need to hang out with these people, and just to be clear, financiers, they only deal with paper and money. So they are not one of the general partners who are decision makers on day-to-day basis of different issues of repairs and upgrades and whatnot. The financiers are only dealing with that paper and money. But the reason why the repositioners have to have vast financier networks is because if they can secure a more advantageous loan, the repositioners just found some upside right there. So that's one way that they spend a lot of time on. But the next one has got to be operations, stopping those Benjamins from going down the toilet. But of course, there's a lot more to operations than just unclogging toilets and collecting rent and mowing lawns, shoveling snow if you're where I am, which is not out there in Taipei. But the thing that I offer to GP teams on the operations side is automation based on my CRM experience. The other part too is the enemy in operations, really making sure that the business is making more money. The enemy is vacancy. And even if you're outsourcing your property management to a third party, if you've got a vacancy rate problem, somebody needs some serious marketing chops to get those units filled. And that's one way that I throw my hat into the ring. But of course, there's only so much you can do with operations. So the next thing the repositioner will look to do is get a contractor to even team involved to do a value add. They'll upgrade the units with the idea that the next resident will be more than happy to pay more in rent than the previous one because it's a nicer place. But if only it were that simple. You know, the contractors, they might drag out their deadlines, which that means lost months of rent. They might use sub-adequate materials if you don't know them very well. And if you're like me, then the fix for that, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm from the internet. So that means I need locals. I need boots on the ground. Somebody who can be there in an hour or two and will check up fairly regularly just to make sure that the operators, the third party property managers, they're actually doing what they say that they're supposed to do, making sure the contractors are staying on schedule and they're not cutting corners and all that kind of fun stuff. But when you've secured the local, you found a appropriate property, the repositioner will be like, oh, well, I found this great property. It's 350 units and it's tens of millions of dollars. They turn around to their financier buddies and say, hey, do you have, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars you want to lend us? And the question that the financier is going to come up with, and this will ruin, a hypothetical idea a lot of people have had in their head. Maybe if you're a physician or an engineer or an attorney, you've thought, hey, what if me and my pals all put in 50K, 100K, 250K, and we buy that apartment complex or that commercial building downtown that looks all nice? Well, the problem is that the financier is going to ask you, who is your KP? Who's your sponsor? What's that all about? Well, when you decide to pool your funds to take over a commercial property, the other thing the lender's going to need is somebody in the fold who already owns a similar asset. That'll prove that they're not just throwing money into the wind. So you have to have somebody in the fold who already has a similar asset, already doing that sort of deals. And then on top of that, you need to have a certain amount of liquidity. And among the owners, you need a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan. But if you have all those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So, John, I know that you've got some of the repositioner pieces covered, especially with underwriting, and then of course your local aspect is going to be it, and then of course you're going to be involved in asset management at the very minimum. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. Where do you expect to contribute to your next deal?
So all those spots that you just mentioned, and then also contractors. So our team, Four Amigos Multifamily, we have two contractors on the team, Pedro and Daniel, and we also have an accountant. His name's Michael. So definitely the underwriting, operations, local, like you said, where we cover Tulsa and Oklahoma City. My partners are in Oklahoma City. I'm in Tulsa, so anywhere in Oklahoma we can cover pretty easily, and neighboring states, and that's mostly what we're targeting now, but we're slowly venturing out as our opportunities grow. But yeah, those will be the four spaces that we really have a lot of opportunity to cover.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. And that brings us to the buy box. You covered some of that, but of course, we've got some virtual assistants who watch this show and add the different guests onto their CRM that way. So, just so that we're repeating, one question I always ask is what's your buy box? What's your ideal property? Meaning, what's easier to say yes to and more difficult to say no to? And when it comes to different syndicators, investors, and whatnot, if we're saying what's your buy box, we're really asking about three things. First one's geography. Where is it? Which states? Which county? Possibly even which neighborhood. Okay, it's gonna matter. Okay, so that's the location. The second one is gonna be size. And most of my guests on this show are in multifamily, which means apartment complexes. And the way that you define size in apartment complexes is by unit count. And the reason why that's important is because you're going to have a completely different group of people taking over 10 unit apartment complexes compared to the 150s, the 300s, and whatnot. So that size definitely matters. There are other types of commercial real estate that go off of square footage or whatever, but that size will definitely matter for that reason. But the third one, I call it desirability. Some people call it class, but I don't like it when it's called class because it's talking about two completely different things. One of them's condition, the other one's area. And when you're talking condition, it means how old is the building? How beat up is the building? Is it filled with wonderful amenities and luxuries, or is it really, really no frills, bare bones kind of place? So that's the condition. But when I'm talking about the area, I'm talking about what's the crime rate like where the property is located? What about the school districts where the property is located? And of course, there's that old trope where they say in real estate it's location, location, location. What they really mean is traffic, traffic, traffic. which means it's more desirable if more people are going by that location in a given day than otherwise. But both the area and the condition, they're ranked the same way as in grade school, where you got A plus at the top, and then A, and then A minus, and then B plus, and so on. So, John, as far as you and your team go, what's easier to say yes to?
Yeah, so it's pretty vanilla, just your traditional value adds, your C plus to your Bs that are in B areas to A areas. So, nice school districts, lower crime, newer buildings, 1980s or newer, stuff like that. As far as how heavy the lift, with our team, we can take on pretty heavy lifts. The asset that we took on this year, it was 30% occupied and had fire damage and a lot of things that other people would stay away from. So we have the opportunity to take advantage of things like that that have good bones that just need a lot of work and can make a lot of money for you, where other people stay away from those heavy lifts. So we look for value add from heavy to light.
Okay, and you mentioned Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Oklahoma and neighboring states, that's close enough for us to drive to and touch assets and be there as often as we need to be and have connections in the area. So
All right, I love it. I love it. And the next question then is about people. And the best part about commercial real estate is that because it's multifaceted, it means that nobody's going to be all six sides of the die for any meaningful amount of time. And so we're going to have our own unique skill sets, and we're going to be eager to build these other teams, but at the same time we're going to be better off, better suited to help some people more than others. Me personally, because of my marketing and then the online application creation, CRM software, blah 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 stuff. The sponsors and KPs I'm always eager to speak to because they've actually got the real estate foundation created where a person like me can make a disproportionately large difference. Of course, the locals and the repositioners, I'm also always eager to talk to, and then operators. I'm eager to put them in contact with my different connections. But John, as far as you're concerned, I don't know if you have any 506B deals though, but I wouldn't mention them specifically, or else that's a big no-no for
right.
506B. But and enticing investors is the really nasty thing I heard. But who is in the audience who you can help the most?
Yeah, I mean, we're just looking for our biggest need is, sponsorship. But, obviously we're looking for folks that might want to invest passively and we're willing to jump into co-GP positions with other teams of operators or repositioners and those different deals that may have bitten off more they can chew, want some more experience, want somebody else to help kind of dilute the work so it's not all on them. We're pretty agnostic, open to a lot of opportunities. A lot of times you hear folks say, pick one thing and stick with that. And I'm a people and person operations kind of mindset where as long as I've studied it and understand it, I can find the people and put in the processes to make it work. So I'm a little bit more agnostic to the opportunity. It's just, do I understand it and do the numbers work?
I love it. I love it. And then as far as how to reach out, I got a much longer Burg name here, but it makes me pretty easy to find on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the social media platform that I spend most of my time on. But if you scan this code right here with your phone, that brings you to the FAQs page of 506B, and that's the platform where I offer the service to syndicators, investors, people in this industry, the service of documenting your substantive relations and making sure that your IT is all taken care of so that when the SEC audits you and wants to look at your 506B deals, they'll have the proof right there that you took those extra efforts to find out level of sophistication, appetite for risk, and all that kind of fun stuff. But John, if people want to uh, reach out to you, is social media the best way? Is there a website? How should people reach
Yeah.
out?
LinkedIn or our website, it's www.foramigosmultifamily.com.
All right, and that's numerical or spelt out for?
Spelled out.
Spelled out. Okay, cool. So Four. All right,
Yes, sir.
cool. Excellent. That's great stuff. And the only thing left, it's actually not for you, John, it's for you in the audience. It's the public service announcement I always do, which is if you've been watching this episode and you've been experiencing like searing pains in your eyeballs and like migraine like symptoms, I'm confident it's the hideous subscribe button that's the cause of it, and you can get rid of that for free. You can do it right now. You just click on the button, and it's free. It costs you nothing. I want a bunch of people to do it because if they do, then YouTube will start to pay for these videos instead of me. And I think that would be amazing. As I said, it doesn't cost you anything, but it does mean my videos may show up on your list of suggestions. There's no guarantee about that. But quite frankly, you can go ahead and ignore those suggestions because I just appreciate the fact that you spent this time with me. Just like John, I appreciate you joining me today. It's been great getting to know you a little bit better.
Absolutely. It's good to be here.
Awesome. Thanks. Hey there. Are you interested in commercial real estate deals? Would you like to build your network of investors and deal sponsors? Well, the best thing I can do for you is have you appear on a chance encounter interview as featured on dandoesdeals.com. You may know me from 506B or as a top commercial real estate voice on LinkedIn. And if I had to think of the top factors in your success in commercial real estate, my top two would be your network and your ability to effectively explain how deals work with effective communication. The 15-minute chance encounter format, it checks both of those boxes, and they ensure that you can share your private deals with me without the SEC calling it a public solicitation. So hop onto LinkedIn. You can see my name is over here, Dan Friedenberg, and search for my name. And the best way to reach me and book that is to message me through LinkedIn. And don't worry, it doesn't matter if you decided to enter this space just last week or 2 weeks ago, or if it was decades ago. It'll be fun and easy to look good. We're just asking multiple choice questions based on your core competencies you look to contribute, your level of sophistication, and all that kind of stuff. So I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me.
Hi.
Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay. Are you already logged into 506BME?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506BME, everybody.